What's up, everybody? Excuse me for a second. Let me get this stopped real fast. So, what's going on? Figured we'd do a live stream real quick. While the volatility is at a very significant area, obviously Bitcoin has dropped down. There is a ton of liquidity it can still go get to the downside. So, we're being very cautious with that. We did hit 26 on the fear and greed meter yesterday, so lots of fear out there, especially coming after Michael Saylor bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin up at 96 or 97,000. Bitcoin dropped more than $12,000 from his buy zone. We have the S&P 500 and a lot of other things showing signs of weakness, but not as weak as people assume that it is. Let me put it over there on that monitor. You can see here, it did drop below the monthly VWAP, which anytime that happens, it's the same way that we treat any intraday scalps on this channel. We look to short anything below the daily 21 or the daily 50 on the RSI. So being under the monthly VWAP here is essentially the same thing. It's the volume weighted average price taken on a monthly basis. These upper and lower bands are your volatility bands. So it's all calculated in the VWAP. And essentially you can see how S&P 500 or the ES futures was trading well under the bottom edge of that yesterday. And same goes for the NQ up here. Same thing. But look where it closed. It closed back in the bounds of that. If I take you to this monitor over here and show you basically where you are on the S&P 500 on a weekly expected range, right here is where I said on Saturday's video that if we broke down through here and did something similar to this, like this, then obviously I would not want to be a buyer here, right? Because this would suggest something different is going on. But if we just come down, boom, and do something like that, then obviously I want to be a buyer, not a seller, because we don't short at the bottom edge of the weekly expected move unless you get something like this, right? Something that proves that all these buyers and all these premium sellers down here are smoked and you're getting continuation. You did not get that yesterday. This is a normal pullback in the context of an uptrend. Now that could all change today. I'm not super bullish on this because we are indeed below the 21. There is your 21. So any pullback up to the high month close could be met with heavy sell side pressure on the S&P 500. And we do know that Bitcoin is a risk on asset. It is the most riskiest risk on asset you can partake in unless you're partaking in meme coins. And if you're doing that, I strongly suggest you stop doing that. Those are just set up for one thing only, and that's to make money, obviously, on whoever launches the meme coin. They've already made the money. So when you start buying into it, you are their exit liquidity. As soon as the coin goes live, as soon as the coin goes public, they immediately start to sell the overall supply. You will never get rich trading meme coins. It is a straight up scam. A straight up scam. All of them. Look what happened to Trump coin. Look what happened to Melania coin. Look what happened to all of them. They all do the same thing. As soon as they go public, as soon as you buy, boom, gone. See ya. Your money is gone. So just trade Bitcoin, trade risk markets, stocks, things that are protected. That way, if something bad happens, then maybe there's a chance you get your money back. You will never get your money back in the crypto sphere. All right, even me trading on weeks, I'm very, very public about it. I like it because it gives me the opportunity to partake in this volatility. I mean, that ain't bad on a small account, right? So I like that. And I have been able to withdraw every single fund that I've ever tried to withdraw. I've only made one deposit. Every other time has been withdrawals. So as long as that continues to work, I'm going to continue to trade. But the money that I'm willing to risk over here on weeks, which is 10K, I've already made that over and over and over and over again. So I could lose that 10K and I don't care. I've already made way more than that. So you need to risk only what you're willing to lose, because one day we may log on and we can't get on. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying be very risk averse when you approach these markets, guys. And that's the way you will win over time, when you're being that way. So Bitcoin is bouncing. It just literally went down to yesterday and took out yesterday's low. We expected that to happen essentially because before the New York session opened at 9:30 in the morning, Bitcoin was already making its move down that way. You can see right here on this little bullish 5-minute candle here, this blue line was the overnight or yesterday's low. So right here, you can see that that's at 9:10. So boom, boom, here's 9:20. And then here is your 9:30 US session open right there at 85,806. My long entry was sitting at 85.5, and that was based on this metric right here. It's not, you can't see what it was earlier, but there was, there was a thin, dark line from 85.5 that went through here. Just a very, it looked like this down here. You can see how the colors are much different. Like this is a lot of liquidity, no liquidity, lots of liquidity. So it would look like this right here, no liquidity, and it was right through here. So I just set a limit buy at 85.5 before the market even got down there, and it worked. Now I did set in a little bit of a drawdown for like 10-15 minutes. You can see that this did push down further than my entry, so I was sitting in a little bit of pain there, but I had to wait until at least around the open before I could get long, because this can still be sold into. Let's go look at the charts and I'll show you why. So if we pull back our volume, the daily volume, this is an intraday session VWAP profile, or volume profile, not VWAP, volume profile, but it's on the day's range only. You can see how most of the trading on today's range happened in this range right in here. And then right down here, this is where the value area stops. So this would be considered your value area low. And then all of this down here is under value. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that Bitcoin will automatically bounce back up to value or the value area low. It does not mean that at all. If a market is really, really weak and there's a lot of buy stops getting triggered, then obviously this thing can continue to go lower and lower and lower and get way undervalued. It ultimately will eventually bounce back into value though. So you can see that basically that's all that's done. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take profits because I'm up nice on that Bitcoin position. So we'll go ahead and smoke those profits out. We'll take profit up here. Where is price right now? 87,340. So I want to set 87,350, and I want to take 75% of that position size off. Hit that confirm button, and then boom, right here is my realized P&L. So 459.26 on a daily intraday scalp that happened before 10 o'clock. I'll take that. I'll go ahead and set a stop loss here for just a 0% loss, because no matter what, I have made 450 bucks. I'm going to call that a good day on Bitcoin, and I'll leave this on. Now, as you can see, I have plenty of dry powder over here on the available. This is the account balance setting at $4,300 right now. I generally keep this at $2,000 because when you can trade with 20x leverage, you don't need a lot of money to trade with. A 20x leverage on $2,000 can make a lot of money really fast. So that's generally where I set it. So obviously I got to take some of this money out, and then that'll keep me at about a $1,800 balance, which means if we do get a lower high down here and we start to form lower high support at like 86.5 or 86, then I could potentially look for another buy, knowing that we are under value, right? As long as we're under this area, we're under value on the daily range. So I could potentially look to buy a lower high support if a lower high support is indeed formed. We're doing a live stream because the internet connection is great. So instead of doing one just for the Discord, just for my paying members, I figured I would do one for the whole community because it's been a long time since I've done a YouTube video. Please forgive the voice. I still have a respiratory infection that was going around. I was super sick last week and I'm still just getting over it. So there's that. But right now, Bitcoin's trading back up into value. Obviously, sellers, all the shorts that missed out on the move for the last 3 or 4 days are going to be trying to jump on Bitcoin pretty much all day today. And that's good for buyers because now that we've liquidated most of the buy side, right? Most of the liquidity that we went for the last 2 days were buy stops. Those are sell orders, but they're still buy stops. We've triggered 90% of that. Most people have been stopped out, especially anybody trading on leverage. Now, obviously, Michael Saylor's not stopped out. His buy or where he starts to lose money is under $65,000. So he could essentially sit in this all the way down to here without losing any money because he made so much money over the years on the trade. So yeah, I don't see us getting down to 65,000 anytime soon, especially since if we go back and look over here, right here, you can see that the 2-year bonds have spiked and bounced out of this area. And that's what we were looking for. So on the macro, we have the yields rolling over. That supports a bearish dollar. Now, I already have many bearish dollar positions on, but a bearish dollar can be good for risk and Bitcoin. It doesn't mean it will be good for risk or Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is obviously oversold on the daily time frame. So you got to be careful looking for fresh shorts down here. The best time to short Bitcoin was when it made the bull trap up here, or wait for it to break back down under the 50 and then look for a buying or a selling area. And you can see right here, even though we had a nice down day on Friday, Saturday and Sunday gave you an ultimate spot to short. You could have shorted daily supply or daily resistance right there. And at any point on Saturday or Sunday, as long as you held that short and didn't get spooked out of it, you're in good spot right now. And you should probably take profits because you are overbought on the daily and you have tagged your 200 exponential moving average. So if you go back in time and look at when Bitcoin was in this consolidation period, because that's what we're in right now, we're in a consolidation period. We are trending to the downside on the yearly range. All right. But on a 2-year range, Bitcoin is still up. On a 10-year range, Bitcoin is still up. But on 2025's range, you are down. You have made lower highs and lower lows. You are under your yearly opening range. That means you are bearish on the year. But if you remember back in this consolidation period, there were a few times that we got to oversold. Here, here, here. And look what happened each time, right? You got an oversold reading here. You went sideways for 4 to 6 days after. So you will have opportunity to jump on this short again. You don't have to short the lows today, okay? Give it a little bit of a room to bounce. Let it find resistance. And once it does find resistance or puts in another bull trap, then you can look for a potential short opportunity for the next leg lower, putting it back down to oversold. But you can see how the moving averages came into play here. This section of price action right here was the yen carry trade unwind. It was a period of risk that affected all markets. And you can see that that was bought back up 4 days later. So be very careful being a seller today. All right. I'm not saying that you won't make money. I'm just saying be very careful. Make sure your risk is situated like my risk is situated. I have already made money and now I cannot lose money on the trade. That is risk management. All right. That's what you need to do. Now, what I was telling the Discord this morning is what we're watching currently is we're watching the USD CAD trade. We are expecting this to be let me just get rid of all this garbage down here because I'm trying to keep the charts less dirty. But we were expecting this to be an area of a bull trap. We were trading up into the 50 yesterday, and then it closed above supply, so that would have not been a short. I did attempt a short on this yesterday because we never know what's going to happen once we take the trade. We can assume what's going to happen, but we never know what's going to happen. So clearly I got stopped out. But at the open last night at 1700 hours, that's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I was watching this and it started to take out the previous day's highs and continue higher. So I didn't attempt another short until 9:30 this morning because it looked like it's potentially making a bull trap here, but it doesn't mean it is, right? So we're back above the 50 now. So if this does trade down a little bit today, but finds support at the 50, then obviously I'll take profits and move my stop to break even just in case it spikes back up here. But USD CAD is potentially situating itself for a near-term short for this leg of price here to continue. Remember, the macro is situated for dollar short trades. That's basically what I've been beating my chest on with all the weekly updates, letting you guys know that I have a short dollar bias, and that should help Bitcoin stay bullish, but obviously it did not, right? It did not. So we have to do what price is telling us, not what we think is going to happen. But right now, I am attending a short on USD CAD because I do believe that dollar will roll over. Now, I've already capitalized on the majority of this dollar short move. Right here was a beautiful spot for the short entry. And obviously down here is where you want to be a profit taker. Also, if we go look at the dollar by itself here on the weekly time frame, you can clearly see that on both of these lower wicks here, on both of these weekly expansions lower, you got down to the 50 on the RSI. This is a point where short sellers will take profits because they expect a bounce will probably be likely. You might see a bounce back up to here, but this would be another short opportunity on the dollar. So kind of taking the dollar CAD short today might not be the best trade because the dollar is potentially bouncing here. So if you do decide to take the USD CAD short today, please understand that this thing can continue to go higher. So make sure your risk is adjusted. Also, we usually don't get bearish on things. We're not really uber bearish on things until we're closing weeklies under that 21 exponential. And we did get that on the dollar last week. But this is just Wednesday. So this dollar trade move, or this dollar move right here, might just go up to this week's open and roll back over, which is right there at 106.60. So it's also daily supply. And since we're seeing risk markets like kind of do good today, right? I mean, not compared to yesterday, they're still trading inside yesterday's range, but from the open, it's up. It's at the highs of the day. You liquidated the highs of the day on the risk market right here. Okay? So here was your daily high. And then right before the market opened, about an hour before the market opened, you ran up and you smoked the daily high. Then you ran down and almost smoked the daily low. The ES daily low is 60.77. No, sorry, 59.77. I knew 77 was the low, but I was confused on if it was 60 or 59. It's 59.77 was the daily low. If you look right here, this is your intraday range. You got down to 59.78 and had a huge bounce all the way back up to intraday VWAP. Then sellers hit it again right there, drove it all the way back down, and then it bounced again, and then boom, shakalaka. So that right there set the sellers up, and then this candle knocked them down. Lovely. Now, generally, when you don't have this much volatility, but in a normal slower market, like say when the VIX is under 15 or right at 15, anytime you liquidate the daily high and immediately go down and set a fresh daily low, that is generally a bearish signal. That is why all the shorts hit it right here at the intraday VWAP. But you can clearly see who is winning today. It is not the shorts. They were annihilated right there. All right. So whenever I end my videos, I always say trade safe, trade smart. This is what I mean. Trade safe and trade smart. Pay attention what's happening. I told my Discord members that there was a good chance Bitcoin was going to run the lows before the market opened, and it did. And that was the spot to look for the long, obviously, right? But there's no guarantee it's going to bounce from there, ever. Even if you go look at it, it didn't look like it was going to bounce for about 15 minutes because you put in this bearish candle here, then traded up to where the daily low was, which was there, and then kind of just chilled out there for a little bit, and then you got a kind of a nice little spike here. So as of right now, you're kind of one time framing here on the 5-minute time frame all the way to this point, because this was the first candle that took out the previous candle's low. So this is where the one time framing stopped. That's why I take profits right there, because anytime you start taking out lows again, that could be detrimental, seeing how most of everybody is bearish. So be very, very careful when you're looking for those. Oh, I'm not even on the right damn screen right here. Sorry. I get confused with that. All right, here you go. Right here. This is that previous candle. You can see how this 5-minute wicked down and took out the previous candle's low. But notice how none of these, once this low happened, that was the lowest low. This is a higher low. That's a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. That's the one time framing. That's what one time framing is. It's, it doesn't guarantee you direction or anything. It just allows you to know that, hey, this market is kind of super bid right now, right? Like, I don't want to jump in front of that if I'm short, especially knowing where value was, right? So if you want to use that indicator, let me get rid of the moving averages, because on a daily time frame, or on a daily time frame is the only place I care about those. But you can see you're back up into value here. And then that's also when you got back into value, that is also when the one time framing stopped. So this essentially is just, let's smoke the lows, run all the buyers from yesterday, and also give any near-term shorts, anybody that jumped in this for a breakdown short trade, let's give them hope. Hopefully they took profits, right? This is why I always tell people, when you're jumping into near-term shorts like this, you got to take profits, you got to have a target, and you cannot have wild expectations, right? Because this is what happens almost all the time. Generally, you have markets that trend up because in the United States, everybody deposits money from their paychecks into their brokerages and whatnot. And plus you have everybody that has 401ks and stuff like that through work. Those people are always buying. All those money managers handling 401ks every week, they're buyers. They're not sellers. They're not actively trading someone's 401k. They are only depositing that money into a risk asset, such as the S&P 500, depending on your risk tolerance. So this right here was like a full steam ahead. We did what we were expecting to do here. And this was the ultimate time to be a buyer, looking for price just to run back to value, which it did on a one time frame metric. It literally was just higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, all the way to value. Boom. Now you're testing the actual point of control. This is where the early sellers are. So think about yesterday's range, right? We went down, we made a low around 10:30, 10:45 a.m. New York session, and then price essentially traded sideways to up for the rest of the day. Then we have a new open, a new daily candle. So price runs up. Does it smoke this high? It does not. But right here is where it sets the high day range. Trades back down. So this is where 90% of the traders in today's range got long or short. They got long or short way too early. This is why I wait until the New York session, because the daily range isn't even made. It's not even made itself at this point. There's no point to take any trades here. There's no edge. The edge is in the New York session. After the Asian session, after the London session, you get the last bit of volume during the New York session. But if their shorts are going to step up, they're probably going to step up here to defend any shorts that were taken earlier. We'll see how it plays out. But right here is your daily high. So Bitcoin only has to go up a little bit further to liquidate anybody that is short from the daily high, from today's high. Most people that are short, that are still short in Bitcoin, they got short many days ago. All right. So we'll see if that 200 exponential can act as support. We did hit the overbought region. I believe we hit the midpoint on the weekly when we were down here yesterday. I do believe we were touching the 50% or the 50 on the RSI. Let me go back to this chart over here real fast because I think I have new data drawn in on Bitcoin. All right. So what I have here is I have this is Q4's range. So Q4 2024. That's when we broke out. Boom. So I have that range fibbed to kind of show me where we are in reference to last quarter's candle. You can see here we are oversold on the daily. Right here's the midpoint of that last quarter candle. Once again, 200 EMA. This down here is your 200 simple. Both of those areas generally are buying opportunities when the markets are bid or when there is risk on. Obviously, they don't like, the market participants do not like Trump's tariffs, right? However, a lot of people do not see any reason to be bearish just because of the tariffs. Some people do, some people don't. That's what makes a market. I only watch price. So my bullish bias is basically just because of what the bonds are doing. I'll show you that real quick and then we'll answer some questions. But here's your 30-year yields. So we are rolling back over. That is what we want to see. That is what the Fed assumes was going to happen. Here's your 20-year yield. Here's your 10-year yield. And then let's go all the way down to the 2-year yield. Remember, I made a video saying what we want to start seeing is we want to see a breakdown. We want to see that continue. If that continues, then that's what the market participants are accepting the Fed's monetary policy, because this is what the Fed said would happen. This is what freaked everybody out. The Fed said, relax, this is going to roll back over, but we'll pause our rate cuts for now, give this volatility time to adjust, time to get back in line with Fed policy. And when it does get back in line with Fed policy, the Fed will likely continue to cut interest rates. That is bullish for risk, bullish for bonds, bearish the dollar. It doesn't mean it's bullish for Bitcoin. A lot of times when your yields get high like this, around the 5% region, that's generally when some investors will pull their funds out of risky assets that are at all-time highs and buy longer dated bond yields because they can get a guaranteed 4.8% on those yields. You see what I mean? So they go buy the bond. Boom. And that's what the Fed is expecting. So on a macro level, there's not really a whole lot of reasons to be uber bearish. The Fed changed monetary policy. They're getting it back to, where it's not so restrictive. So we'll see if growth continues. If growth continues, then I don't see any reason why risk markets can't continue to go higher. But being bullish bonds was the trade. Being bearish the dollar was the trade. Bitcoin kind of does its own thing, obviously. It's kind of a little bit more difficult to get a good plan on Bitcoin sometimes, especially when it's been in a multi-month range. All right. Good morning. Good mornings. Excellent call on the midweek stream. Cheers. Thank you, Tom. What's up? It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. For some reason, my internet was garbage, and then after the first of the year, it was good. I don't know what they did, but I'm glad they did it. All right. Can I check LTC against USD? Yeah, we shorted LTC the other day, but we got stopped out. We were a day early. So we were actually looking for the short on LTC. You did say versus the dollar, right? Yeah, against USD and BTC. All right. So we were looking to short Litecoin because it was so far away from its yearly opening range. So on the year, Litecoin was up, you know what I mean? It was up sufficiently, whereas Ethereum was already bearish on the year. And Bitcoin was just trading very sideways. It had zero volatility in it. So we tried to short this on this day. Obviously, we got stomped out. It ran the highs, but then ultimately it held and then rolled over. Today, it's right back. I mean, damn, I don't know why Litecoin is being so strong on the yearly range. Litecoin is generally the one everybody hates, right? You just liquidated the day high on S&P. Again, not just, actually you did it 25, 30 minutes ago. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to do that. It hasn't done it yet, just yet, but yeah, I mean, you're into supply right here. If you did think the crypto markets were done, like if you have a very bearish bias for whatever reason, I don't care what your reasoning is. It does not matter. The markets allow both bulls and bears to prosper, and the markets allow volatility sellers to prosper. Everybody gets to prosper. You know what I mean? So you can be bearish, you can be bullish, don't matter. But if you are bearish, this is probably an area that you would expect this to roll over. It's still above the 50, so it could just be making a bull trap today. But here's the thing. If Bitcoin just leveled out or just made it did just make a fresh yearly low this morning, if it's going to bounce for a few days to a few weeks before it starts to get bearish again, Litecoin could get very bullish, right? Litecoin could get bullish because Bitcoin is like the ocean, and then every other altcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all of them are like boats in the ocean. So if Bitcoin is going up, generally these things will kind of drift in the upward direction as well. Obviously, you have outperformers. You have ones that do way better. You have ones that do way worse. You have all broad, like there's a whole broad spectrum on these things. But it does appear to be kind of strong. I mean, you're not far off of yearly highs. Your yearly high is still intact. Right there's your yearly high. So this is what your yearly candle looks like. Right? It set a yearly low, then it went up, set a yearly high, then it traded sideways, went down, liquidated the yearly low, then went up and tried to liquidate the yearly high, but failed because that's where the sellers were nailing this thing. Boom, 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 right? Sellers getting in there, front running that yearly open. I wouldn't have shorted that because I would have expected a wick above that and then a failure, and that's when I would have been looking for another short opportunity. But we didn't get that, and it just rolled over. So I left it alone. Now, Litecoin versus the dollar. LTC versus Bitcoin is going to look similar, probably better. Yeah, it's better because Bitcoin obviously was extremely weak the last 3 days. This is why Litecoin versus Bitcoin looks better. However, if you see what I'm seeing here, what is this? Is that 2024? Yeah, that's 2024. Okay, so that's not even a yearly high. That's just going to be a quarterly high. You just liquidated Q4's high, right? Q1 just liquidated Q4's high. So if you're going to see any sellers stick in, they're going to stick in now, right? There is that Q4 high. So I don't know where yearly open is. Let me get the yearly open just real fast because it's easier for me to analyze the chart when I know where this thing opened on the year. Yeah, I mean, if it continues, I don't see any technical reason to sell this other than the momentum is saying that it's not as strong as price is saying that it is, right? Your momentum oscillator is saying, nah, this isn't quite as strong as it was back over here. That is divergence, right? You already have a higher daily close right there. So from this point to this point is divergent. Obviously, the bearish divergence played out here. And then one more day pushed it all the way back down to reset, which is the 50. Anything above that is considered bullish. Anything below that is considered bearish. So you basically, the sellers won, right? They shorted this based on the divergence. The divergence played out. And now you can see how all sellers essentially, or whoever was controlling price from here to here, closed their positions. Because look, boom, right? This is more of a short covering rally and probably some shorts getting stopped out. Those that are stingy, that don't take profits. The smart guys take profits. Always, 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 because we know we can't see into the future. So when we have the money, we take the money. Always. And that's why you get moves like this. Your shorts covered or the big shorts covered their positions, and the weak shorts were left behind and they got smoked. Now you've smoked the last quarter's high. So if you are going to see bullish continuation on this, then I would want to see a good, strong daily close today. So I would, if I was looking for this to go higher, I would definitely want it to close above 0.001396. A daily close back under that could smell trouble, because then, you know, depending on where it is in terms of, like, say it's today's midpoint, could suggest that the sellers jumped back on it. Only time will tell if that scenario is taking place or not. I generally don't want to be short on an asset when it's above this on a daily time frame, especially seeing how big of a move it's gotten today. But I don't trade this. I trade versus the dollar only. So hopefully that's what you wanted to hear. Good morning, fellow Floridian. What's up? Thoughts on Tesla? Tesla's bearish on the year. And it's making lower lows today, right now, as I'm speaking to you. This thing is making lower lows right now. Is this a good spot to be a buyer? Potentially. So what I would want to see on an intraday basis, like if I was about to trade Tesla right now, based on yesterday's liquidation, based on something similar to what I did with Bitcoin, I would go into the intraday chart and I would want to see an almost immediate reaction here. Okay, I don't want to see continuation lower. I don't want to see one time framing continue from here. I want to see this stop and kind of show me a wiggle here for at least an hour or so, and then start one time framing back in the up direction. Then you could potentially take a long and use whatever the daily low is as your stop loss. All right. Because you are under the daily 200 exponential moving average. You are oversold on the daily time frame. But it kind of depends on what happens with the rest of the market. What does the rest of the day look like? Is today just a liquidation from both the highs and the lows? It does look like that. Bitcoin is struggling to even make a fresh daily high. So I generally don't want to see that, but that's how I would play Tesla. I would play it very close to the chest. Like I said, 297 bullish entry, low of day stop loss. Wait for that low of day to be made, because if you look right here, you can see that the NQ and the S&Ps are coming off a little bit here. And then if you look at their daily candles, like, this is an inside day on the NQ. So if this goes back to bearish on the day, Tesla is probably going to continue to go lower. So Yeah, I probably would be a seller on Tesla for now until it's like starts making daily higher lows and higher highs. I'm not going to sell Tesla because I know just how volatile those short covering moments can be. Let me just say it like that, right? So anybody that's been short Tesla stock for all of 2025, for instance, I mean, anybody that shorted this lower high right here, those people are probably going to be taking profits today, seeing how they got their leg lower. And just depending on how big those people are positioned will determine on how big today's bounce is. Today would only be like maybe people are buying it because it's under the daily 200, because it's oversold. And then you're going to have your day traders that are just trying to scalp out momentum. And unfortunately, a lot of times day traders are the ones that are doing the majority of the damage to these stocks. I wouldn't be looking to short it because you just made a fresh yearly low on Monday. So any breakdown short would have been on Tuesday, and that would have been a very quick scalp. Nothing, I wouldn't have been looking for like a lot of downside, because if you do like a measured move from this bounce, you've done a pretty good measured move from this to this, right? As far as like a standard deviation move, for instance, if I were to take this, go up to the high, and then drop, let me just get rid of that fib, it don't matter anymore, and then drop it down to the low, you can see you're pretty close to hitting that measured move, right? So a lot of people are probably going to be taking profits right here, and a lot of people are going to be buying it. But if the markets remain weak, fearful over those tariffs, then anything can happen. I would say that things are going to kind of slow down for a little bit. The market participants are going to see how bad those tariffs, how they have a reaction to the economy and things like that. If the tariffs don't end up destroying the economy, then I expect these lows to be bought eventually. You know what I'm saying? But there is no denying the fact that Tesla is bearish on the year. On the year only, it is bearish. All right? You're bearish on the year. Last year, your lows down here, your highs up there. So you're trading inside of last year's range. So on a longer time scale or a longer time frame, you're in an uptrend on Tesla. You're just pulling back on the year. On the quarterly, obviously, we're still in Q1, so you're in Q1 2025. Is this what we can expect for the rest of the year? Generally, that's how I treat stocks, right? Any pullback to the yearly open is a short opportunity. You didn't even get a pullback to it yet. So I would expect a pullback to here eventually at some point this year. And then this would probably be the opportunity to look for another short if the market doesn't like the tariffs. But if the market doesn't care about the tariffs anymore after that, you're probably going to run right through that level. Here's Apple. It just did a yearly opening retest. Oh, you can't see it on this chart. Oh, here's Apple. You just did a yearly open and retest yesterday. Boom. Liquidated everybody that was short from here. They're done. But you're now getting that move. So in my opinion, any move back up to 245.83 is going to be a short opportunity as long as 245 acts as resistance intraday. That's Apple. Nvidia, same thing. You did get above your yearly opening range here, but we were watching this for a breakdown. That's what I said in last week's upload. If you watched that video, I specifically said if we break down back under the yearly opening range, I think that's a short opportunity. And so far that's playing out. Microsoft never got back up to its yearly opening range, and there's a huge gap, so I would expect it to get back up there eventually. This is a pretty good bullish reaction down here on Microsoft. Whether that plays out on a longer term basis, we'll tell, but the way this stock has been trading, you're well below your 200s. So what was that, a 50 test on the weekly? Almost down to the 100 on the weekly. Yeah, this stock is full on bearish, like on the year, right? So I would wait for a liquidation above this high and a rejection off of a yearly opening range. You start closing dailies back above the yearly opening range. However, you got to be cautious. You got to be more cautious. You can wait for that breakdown to take the short. Because while you're above the yearly opening range, that suggests that buyers are back in control. So just be very, very careful. For anybody that has TradingView and don't understand what I'm talking about when I say yearly opening range, just go to the 12-month time frame, find the open of your yearly candle for this year, and just tag a line there. Because generally, those lines can offer very, very opportunistic shorts when a market spends, the majority of the year under. Any pop back up to can be a short. That's how we were able to short Bitcoin back in 2021 when everybody was super bullish, but us, we were the only channel that was bearish back here. And all of this right in here, we were bearish. Everybody else was bullish, calling this a Wyckoff accumulation and all that good stuff. And we shorted it. We had to wait for the breakdown though. It took about a week and a half. But ultimately, it did not get any bullish continuation above the yearly opening range, so we knew the bulls were not in charge, and we shorted this bad boy all the way down to 26K. And it went well beyond that, but this is when I closed my shorts on Bitcoin. That was also when I made the majority of my Bitcoin. Because back then, I could still trade the inverse swap futures contract. And all those trades were settled in Bitcoin. Brokers, they won't allow me to do that anymore. Now they have to pay me Tether instead, but whatever. But yeah, and we just lost that on Bitcoin. And that was literally the level that was keeping me bullish on this asset class. Now that you're below that, well, right? You're no longer bullish on the year. Not only that, you set a fresh all-time high. Then you immediately ran down. Well, not immediately. It took several weeks. But you went and made a fresh yearly low. Higher high. Or, yeah, you made a higher high than a lower low. That's not bullish. But if this is going to be a longer-term consolidation formation, which I assume it will now that all these ETFs are involved in Bitcoin, and some people will probably be taking some of their 401k money and putting it in Bitcoin via ETF. I would assume that there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see something like this play out. More than, say, a downtrend to zero. I know bears are thinking this is going down to zero, but I got news for you, man. There's a lot of rich people that are propping this thing up. Yeah, it's down to 85, but like I said, Michael Saylor is not losing money yet. He is not losing money till under 65,000. So he is not even sweating this move lower. It's only day traders that are sweating this move lower. Right? Billionaire not sweating this move lower. In fact, I assume he will add again down here somewhere. So if this longer term consolidation formation is going to play out like this down here, then you're probably going to see a lot of moves higher, moves lower, moves higher, moves lower. Lots and lots of opportunity in this. Lots of opportunity in this. make hundreds of dollars a day trading Bitcoin alone with all this volatility. It's fabulous. But there is something to be said right now while I'm live so no one gets any misconceptions. Longer term on the macro level, I am my bias is bullish. All right. But we have made fresh yearly lows and we are under the yearly opening range. So because of that fact, I do have a near-term bearish bias on Bitcoin. Okay. But me buying down here was just an opportunity for a scalp long. But I can leave the rest of that position open as long as it doesn't get stopped out for it to go all the way back up to here. Up here, I will be looking for a short. Unless we start closing dailies back above it, then I have to give a little bit more caution instead of just diving, head first into a short. Allow it some time to show me, hey, are the shorts jumping in here? And you'll know if the shorts are jumping in here because you'll see price action like this. Right? And then that is when you want to have your short situated, and you can put your stop right there. And then if you get any downside continuation, that's how you want to play Bitcoin moving forward. If Bitcoin does something like this, then obviously you don't want to short the yearly opening range. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just simplify it, folks. If you just simplify it, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to be a bear. You don't have to be a bear. You could be a trader. You can be someone that doesn't give a damn what Bitcoin does long term, like me. I don't really care. I continuously make withdrawals from my crypto exchange. So I'm doing my job. My job is to pay my bills with crypto money, but I turn it back into USD. I have enough Bitcoin, like I own enough in cold storage. I don't want to add to that. It's so big now, it already stresses me out. Too big. I need to make it smaller so that way I can just forget about it and leave it, and long term maybe donate it. I don't know. But I'm doing just fine on trading it with the USDT settled futures contract. All right. That's how you should approach Bitcoin, in my opinion. You shouldn't be an Uber anything, ever. Hit the like button. Yeah, that would be awesome. I appreciate you guys. Buster G, how I know you mainly follow price. However, you have looked at the 5-day, 2-day bearish crossovers lately. I don't look at the MACD, but Buster G, I only look at the RSI. That's the only momentum oscillator I need is the RSI. The MACD, obviously, I don't know if it's a good indicator or a bad indicator. I don't use it, so therefore I don't know anything about it. Basically, I'm just analyzing what's taking place, like long term on the macro, just to kind of give me an idea. We know that the Fed is pivoted. We know that they are no longer hiking interest rates. I know a lot of talking heads on Bloomberg. Oh, the Fed might have to cut or might have to start hiking interest rates now. Bitch, please. Bitch, please. You show me where on the bond yields that says that. Right? If the bond yields get above 5%, then yeah, the Fed might have to hike interest rates. But as long as the bond yields are below 4.8, the Fed is not hiking interest rates. And they did not say that on their last dot plot matrix. Their last dot plot matrix specifically says they're looking for yields to continue lower. They're looking for their Fed funds rate to continue lower over time. Boom. That is technically bullish. But for some reason, stocks are not trading bullish today, or yesterday, or the day before that, even though yields are breaking down. But I just ask you to give it time. See where we're at 6 months from now, right? But having a macro bullish bias does not mean that I cannot take advantage in these sideways conditions, right? There is a ton of money to be made on Bitcoin. Dude, this thing moves 1%, that's $1,000. You take a $2,000 trade with 20x leverage and you get a $1,000 move in your direction, you're going to have several $100s worth of profit on that. Fantastic stuff. So even when it's not moving, it's still moving $1,000. When it is moving, it's moving much more than that. I mean, that daily high is 96.5. That daily low is 91.4. That is a $5,000 move. That's a 5% move. Nice. Lots of money to be made in that. Now, the one main concern that I have, other than the fact that it made fresh yearly lows, is that volatility is starting to pick up now on this volatility indicator. As soon as I find it, right here. So this was on the floor for many, many days. And I did tell everybody, if this indicator starts to spike, if you start to see spiking volatility when Bitcoin is going up, then expect a continuation higher, a multi-day trend up. If price is going down when this volatility meter spikes, then look out below, is literally what I said. I mean, hello. I can go show you. It is just that easy, right? And that's not where I said it. Where did I say it? Where did I say it? Where did I say it? Right here. The volatility on Bitcoin is still flat. If it starts to lift while price is going down, look out below. And here we are now below. So this spiking in volatility has me a little bit concerned for any upside continuation for right now. Well, right now, the bears are in control of Bitcoin. Like it or love it, that is the fact. That is a fact of life. You cannot say any other words because you're bearish on the year and you just made a fresh yearly low. And volatility is just now spiking. The bulls had their opportunity in here. They lost. They lost. Now, the same can be said for the bears here, and that's why we were still looking for bullish entries. We got long right there. Boop. But it just couldn't get anything going, right? We did get a nice little 2-day continuation, move to the upside, but then we put in a bull trap right here. We got the first bullish signal in many, many days right here. And then the very next day, it was a bearish engulfing. So essentially right here and there on that day, I pretty much knew it was over. That is not what I wanted to see for bullish continuation. I got the exact opposite. So this is why many trade talkers went short. This is why many people had a short bias here. This is why I was telling people to look for the short on Ethereum on Sunday. Here's Sunday. I specifically posted that as well. This is a short. It is a almost flawless short signal. Boom, the next day, gone. Hopefully you guys were able to participate in that. So even though I have a bullish bias, I don't like the fact that crypto is getting sold off. I don't like that. That's concerning because it is the most risky asset class. If it's selling off, you have to wonder what's going on here. People selling Bitcoin, buying bonds? That doesn't make any sense, but can't argue with that. Not yet. Do you think Bitcoin breaks above today's high? That is, I could say yes or no, and it wouldn't matter. I've already made my money today. So to me, I really don't care what Bitcoin does. For anybody just joining the stream, at the beginning of the stream, I had a trade on. I realized $459. This was my trade right here. And I have an open position with $200 open. This is on a $4,000 account. The account's much bigger than that. I have $12,000 in the account, but I only trade with $2,000. I have to take this money out. But as of right now, I'm done for the day. I don't give a crap what this does. It can come down and stop me out and take this $200 away from me. I don't care. I've already banked $450. So I'm good. I could tell you, yeah, I think it's going to take out the high, but it doesn't mean it will. Right? I think the only trade that was able to be taken today on Bitcoin was to wait for that low to be liquidated and get long. And that's only if the USD rolls over, which it is starting to do now, right? So, but this at any point could find support. We are looking for it to roll over, but the DXY is at a longer term weekly support zone. So this short could get stopped out today. I think if risk continues to be strong and we continue to see lower trending markets on the VIX today, then yeah, there's a decent chance Bitcoin could make a fresh daily high. This resistance on the VIX has been holding resistance ever since you closed back under it right here. You have not closed a daily candle back above that. This is when you need to start getting bullish on risk, when you're up here or back under it. And obviously that's why I was buying Bitcoin today. If the VIX was up at 2188, there's no way in hell I would have bought that liquidation low. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a huge chance this thing was going to go lower if the VIX is above 20. But the VIX opened under 20. We closed under 20 yesterday. Yeah, I think the trade is wait till the open, get long. And that's what played for now. But I could be wrong later. You know what I mean? More news could come in today. Like Trump could be like, I don't care what the markets are doing. I'm going to make 80% tariffs. You know what I'm saying? If he says that, Bitcoin's going to make fresh lows today, not highs. But yeah, as long as no news comes out, as long as the VIX continues to trend lower, I do believe Bitcoin could make a fresh daily high. It's just too impossible to know. That's not how you make money in trading. You do not make money in trading by knowing what the market's going to do. You make money in trading by controlling your risk, how much money you risk, how often you risk it, where you risk it. Those are the reasons you make money in trading. Not because I think I know what it's going to do. No, that has nothing to do with it. I know nothing. I don't know anything. But yeah, with all that said, VIX continues to trend lower. Bitcoin could potentially make a fresh daily high. SPX launching. It's actually trading sideways at the highs intraday. It did launch. Yeah, it's actually trading at the intraday highs. Here's the daily on the ES futures. So it is trading at the highs. Yep. But it hasn't done anything since we went live. Since like 10:15, this thing has not done anything at all. It's been sideways. The bonds, this is a 2-year bond yield, right? Or this is a 2-year bond, not the yield. It got a nice breakout last 3 days. Nice. That's what we wanted to see. But it does appear that people were going out of risk into bonds. Maybe when the tariffs thing, everything that's going on with the tariffs, maybe when that all works out, because most of the time everything works out, guys. To be honest with you, the people that are always bearish, always only bearish, they are the most negative people I've ever met in my life. They always think the world is going to end. It's time to buy ammo and canned food, but it never happens. You know what I mean? Is it okay to prepare for that? Yeah. Yeah, it's okay to prepare for that. But it very seldom ever actually happens. But it does look like right now they're getting out of risk and they're going into bonds. So right now they are a little bit concerned, to say the least. I don't think the S&P will be a sell opportunity again until it gets back up to roughly right here on this red line, like right in this region, around 60, 63-ish. I think that's probably where the next area of resistance could come into play on risk. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. So like if you look at risk on a weekly time frame, it does not look that bad at all. Yes, we took out last week and the week previous to that's low, but on a weekly basis, this thing don't look bad at all. In fact, if you look at where it bounced from, you see what I'm saying? It's not even, you can't even really say it's bearish yet. Like I was trading back when the pandemic happened. We got this right here. This is what happened. Then the next week happened. We gapped up a little bit, went like right there, and then we got a like that's what it looked like. That's bearish. All right? This is bearish. This is that's bearish. This is not bearish. It's bearish on the week. That's it. It's just a little pullback. Tiny itty bitty pullback. If the buyers control this, this will probably break out to the upside, unfortunately. So we have to just see. You could watch the weekly open. That's a little bit lower than 60.63. This is not the actual price. I have to see where that open took place. Let's see. I'll call it Monday, the 17th. So the 18th is when it opened, and that price on futures is 61.38. That's the weekly open, 61.38. So we'll see if this acts as resistance on the near term, but I don't know. It's awful, it's kind of really close. But if you're looking to jump back in a short on the SPOOs, right there's the first place that I would start looking. Assuming MicroStrategy will bounce, it's also very bearish, my friend. MicroStrategy is down 50%. It's actually not down 50% today. It is down 52% since from the highs. Now, on the year, you're not down that much, but down 52%. That means you've lost half of MicroStrategy's value is gone. Half of it. It's gone. Anything over 20% in the stock market is considered a bear market. So one could have arguably been looking to short MicroStrategy at 431. At 431, you could have been looking to short MicroStrategy. And if you look at these daily candles right here, you can tell that that's essentially where everybody was getting short. Because not long after that, this thing dumped. So clearly sellers were hitting it at about 440, right around that 20% off area. Because that's generally when a stock is in a bear market. This is in a full-blown bear market. But generally, that's when you want to be a buyer for the longer term, guys. Now, I don't know if it's going to stop here. I do have several levels marked out for you. I've got November 2024's open right here. The reason being is because the next swing low to liquidate is November's low. That's right here. That's the next area of liquidations. So if this area acts as support, you could technically be a buyer at 245. If you start closing dailies under that, you have to close that position because you're probably going down to 220 to grab that low. And then the next spot is going to be $200, and that's just your old all-time high. And at that point, I don't know how much this thing would be down. At that point, this thing would be down 63%. So that would probably be a good spot to be a buyer also. But just keep in mind, Netflix went down almost 80% before the buyers stepped in on Netflix back when we had the bear market of 2022. So, buying here, please understand this stock could lose 25% more easily. If Bitcoin continues to be bearish, this will also, because Michael Saylor has tied this asset's price so much to Bitcoin now, it will move with Bitcoin. It'll do what Bitcoin does. But he's still buying it, so he obviously thinks Bitcoin's going higher long term. Thanks for coming, Tesla. I would think that gap at 250s would be filled at some point. It's possible. I generally don't look for gap fills to happen, but they generally do happen. Gaps generally do fill. But I mean, you're at fresh yearly lows right now, trying to get short, looking for another push down to 257. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's being a little bit stingy, if you ask me. Right? Just be careful looking to short fresh yearly lows. Be very, very careful. Remember, I said today would probably be a buy as long as you can stay above this. And it doesn't look like the buyers are able to do much with this right now. But it did give one more test back down there. So this would have been your buying entry. And your stop loss would have been placed right here. And if you're in that trade, I think you're on the right. More than likely, you're on the right side. But I don't know that you're on the right side. Remember, the markets are a little bit weak. They're not flat out bearish yet. Some are. Tesla's flat out bearish on the year. Bearish. It's over 20% off as well. Whenever you have a flat out bearish market or a flat out bearish asset, the bears generally don't give up. They're winning. You know what I'm saying? So they generally try to keep going. It isn't until they reach a lot more demand where they'll be losers, because the bears ultimately generally always lose, because markets generally always trend up. What would it take for you to think we're entering a bear market on Bitcoin? 20% off the highs. That's when the rest of everybody will start to call Bitcoin in a bear market. Not your hardcore Uber Bitcoin bulls. They want it to get 40% off before they start calling it a bear market. But in my opinion, if you're under the 21 on the daily, you can look for intraday short scalps. You've lost bullish momentum at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the bulls can't maintain or hold bullish momentum on a daily time frame, that says that the bears kind of have the more control of the asset. We were under bear market territories today. But yeah, I mean, you're pretty much at bear market territory right now, today. That is why Bitcoin is struggling to make a fresh daily high. If you look at the hourly here, you can see you got to get up here to make that fresh daily high. That's your daily high, right? Nope, right here. That's your daily high. 89,324. There is a trend line coming here, but this trend line it's not a trend line. You know what I mean? It's not under wick lows. This was the last time Bitcoin was oversold. That's why I got that trend line there. This was the last time Bitcoin was oversold. Right here? No. Oh, that's a fib. Sorry. Right here. This was the last time Bitcoin was oversold. So I just marked a trend line from there up. Just kind of showing that we're oversold here and we're way higher than this. It's not a support trend line. Not a trend line that I would draw for support. I always use wick lows when I'm drawing trend line support. So if I was drawing trend line support, it would look more like this. And where are you at, dude? Way up here. That is how I would draw trendline support, or something like this. Like that. Right? I don't use trendline support. I like horizontals myself. A lot of people will look at slope. I think slope is okay to look at. 100%. It works sometimes. You know what I mean? If you can make money off of it, who am I to crap on it? You know what I mean? But that's just how I would draw it if I were looking for support. That trend line, not a support. It was just linking the last time Bitcoin was oversold to the now time that Bitcoin was oversold. That's all that trend line was. I think you're in an overall range. I mean, you did just make fresh yearly lows. So if the bears are going to remain in control, I want to see continuation from there. If we don't get continuation from there, then I will look to short it back up here. And if it gets back above that and remains bullish above that, then I'm not bearish anymore. Because you're just going probably back to range highs, like 106. Because longer term, you're in a range. You can clearly see that range here. So this is the first time you've been able to break out of it. Right? So you need continuation from here in order to continue to be in control, or at least a retest of this and lower. If the bears can't hold it, then the bulls are probably going to win. I need those problems. Yeah, I hear you. You can get there. Just keep trying. Don't ever quit, and make sure you're not risking so much money that you can lose it all. If I would have risked every single cent every time I ever traded, I would not be here today trading. I would still be finishing concrete. Or driving a truck or something. I would definitely wouldn't be at my office trading right now. It's just about risk. That's all it is. Risk. And the areas that you look to put that risk on. You're never going to be able to predict with any kind of accuracy where the market's going. Unfortunately, that's the most sought after thing with retail traders. They want to know how I knew something was going to happen, and I have to tell them all the time, I didn't know that was going to happen. I had no clue what was going to happen. But I took the trade because of this, right? And that's the only way you can learn, really, is by doing it. Just make sure you're risking very small amounts of money so you can do it long enough to get the hang of it and then get an edge. And once you have that, life-changing stuff starts happening. Gold. Yeah, gold got beat up real hard yesterday. On the monthly basis, it looks uber bullish still. But yesterday, yeah, it essentially what you had here on gold, let me get rid of all these old levels. What you had here on gold was this was your all-time high, and the buyers just couldn't do anything with it. So this is like exhaustion. This is also where I would tell you to mark your supply level right there. Because since you did get a higher close, it does suggest that, there was more selling taking place on this daily range than buying, because you couldn't get any bullish momentum. You were unable to stop out the shorts. And then the very next day, the shorts won. So now any retest of this is going to be another opportunity for potential short on gold. That's if it even gets back up there. On a technical basis, you've got a daily support level right here. And probably a weekly open. Let me see here. No. Weekly opens there and there. So your daily supply zone is also your weekly open on gold. That's also confluent. A confluent horizontal level to look for gold shorts. But the shorts just won yesterday. On the longer term here, this is still very, very bullish. Right there's your yearly opening range. So you're in a multi-year uptrend here on gold, a 3-year uptrend on gold. This is your yearly low right here. You're just a small percent off the highs. But it does look like the sellers are winning for right now. You're just 1.4% off the highs on gold. So yeah, gold got beat up a little bit yesterday, but they got beat up on this day too. And look what happened after. But this is literally where the buyers ran out of steam. So you might pull back multiple days here for gold. That's why I would more or less be looking for short side entries there. But it also depends on what the dollar does. See, the dollar's back up again, or at least USD versus CAD. CAD's been very weak lately. So even if the dollar isn't strong, the Canadian dollar is winning. But I'm just looking down here and I can see that my short is not working out. I want to see this flip from green to red. I think I get stopped out at 0.33. If it continues to go up, I will be stopped out. Right? I need this to roll over. And if this does roll over, if you do continue to see dollar weakness, then gold could get strong again. Remember, the only reason why USD CAD ain't dropping like a rock like this is because CAD is weaker. Canadian dollar futures are weaker. Let me get them. I'll pull them up. It is /6C. Let me pull them up for you and I'll show you just how weak they are. If it pulls up, this platform is so slow for me. I bet I can pull it up faster over here. This is Canadian dollar futures. See how fast that popped up? And this is still slow. Yeah, your Canadian dollar futures bearish. This is why USD CAD won't roll over. Damn you, Canadian dollar. Bounce so I can make more money. I'm kidding. It can do whatever it wants to do. But that's why. All right, if there's no more questions, I guess we can wrap it up. Bitcoin is starting to catch a little bit of fire here. This could be bought back up, though, as long as the dollar continues to be weak. But here's the thing. Even if the dollar stays weak, if Bitcoin is just weaker than the dollar, it will still roll over. Because you're trading, this Bitcoin is trading versus the dollar. Right? Bitcoin futures are the only things that trade on Bitcoin by itself. And they're weak too. The Bitcoin futures are very weak. So yeah, dollar weakness typically would be good for Bitcoin when Bitcoin is strong, but we just can't say that right now. So watch for on that gold short. If you're looking for a short, I don't know if I would as long as there's massive dollar weakness, but if you are looking for it, it's going to be 29.39 spot 78. Bitcoin could make lower high support somewhere today. S&Ps are still up. S&Ps still look good. NASDAQ still looks good. Bonds still look good. This is the ADD. This is the advanced decline line. It's just this over here. This is the 100 top stocks in the S&P 500. You can see it's pretty much a mixed day. 48 advancing, 53 declining. This is just in chart format. Anything around 0 is pretty much 50-50. Anything positive means it's more bullish than bearish. Anything negative means more bearish than bullish. So, I mean, this looks good. This looks good for upside continuation. In fact, the only real weak day you had was back there on the 21st. That would have been Friday. Here's Monday. Monday was kind of weak, but not as weak as Friday. And then yesterday wasn't as weak. So you can see how kind of the shorts are kind of losing steam anyways. So if dollar stays weak, this might continue higher. We do have euro dollar longs from down here, right around this area. We have USD short, USD JPY shorts from right here. So that's working out. So the dollar short position is working. It's doing good. This was just a day trade that I took today, expecting this to be a bull trap, but I might be wrong because Canadian dollar is so weak. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.